Hi, everybody. This is Matthew Poes of Poes Acoustics. And in this video, I have a question from Brian Hart, 6978. And he gave $10, so thank you very much. You said, thanks. I have a question about my home theater and very unusual calibration results using Dirac Live. It's the full version, most recent version as of 8/24, running the app from my PC laptop using a UMIC 1 and a calibration file. I have a 5.1.4 system, mostly for movies. Bed layer consists of Arundel 1961 towers, 1961 monitors for center, surrounds of the KEF 150s, AVR is a Denon X3800H, Buckeye amp to power the LCRs, and since adding the amp, Dirac Live calibrations consistently result in the left curtain being set at 900 Hz. This is the detected lower cutoff frequency of the LCR speakers. I know these speakers are capable of producing energy down to approximately 40 Hz. I have been in contact with Dirac, Denon, Arundel, and Dylan at Buckeye Amp. No one has ever heard of this before, let alone know what is happening to produce those results. I have done a lot of additional research and tried many different things, but I consistently get the same results. Do you have any ideas or thoughts? So I want to say two things here. First, I hope it's understood, but I can't, in these videos, give you guys direct troubleshooting support or technical support for your theaters and then shoot a video on it. So I hope that's understood. I'm going to give you some general pointers and advice on how to handle situations like this. But I can offer privately such services, obviously for a fee. I don't work for those companies. They don't pay me. And so I can't really offer free technical support for them on their behalf. But I'm happy to work with somebody who's having issues and would like my help in trying to get this worked out. I do know most of those companies well enough that I could potentially go to them directly. So let's dive into the possible causes here. First off, if it's setting the curve at 900 Hertz like that, the curtain, I should say, that obviously means something is very, very wrong. In fact, it implies to me that the woofers are not working possibly at all or correctly, to the point you got to wonder if something's damaged. So when you're doing troubleshooting, what you want to do is isolate all the variables in such a way where you can control one at a time and figure out what's going on. So whenever I take a system and I change it and it behaves differently than it did before, then I try to look at the things that changed. And more than likely, and this may have been the case here, you change more than one thing, so it's hard to tell. But the clue in here I see is I put the Buckeye amp in, and then ever since I did that, it's been putting this curtain at 900 Hertz. It is possible that the way in which you inserted that amplifier damaged the speaker. And if that's true, then the first thing I would do is take that speaker and take that amplifier and remove the amplifier and put it back on the receiver alone and rerun the calibration. If removing the amplifier fixes everything, then the problem is the amplifier, and Buckeye's going to have to take a look at it and fix it. Now, on the other hand, if removing the amplifier doesn't fix it and the problem remains the same, the next thing I would do is switch the speaker channels around. It doesn't matter that they're backwards because you're not going to leave it this way. So if you take if your left speaker is the problem, switch the wires so that the left channel is now hooked to the right channel and the right channel is now hooked to the left channel, and rerun the calibration. If that switches the problem, then again, you know the problem is not the speakers for sure. The problem is in the amp or processor in some way. At that point, like I said, I'd probably suspect it's the amplifier. If you remove the amplifier from the equation and the problem goes away, it's definitely the amplifier. And if you remove it and it stays and you've switched wires and the problem stays in the same place, then it's the receiver, the 3800H. Now, the next thing I would probably do after that, I would go back to Denon at that point, or whoever you bought the receiver from, and say, I think we need to make a warranty claim. Now, let's just assume the warranty is no longer there. Your warranty has run out. There's no ability to make a warranty claim anymore. Okay. Then, before going and dropping that receiver for a new one, I would go and take, if possible, REW measurements. And it could be anything. You could do pink noise. You could do sweeps. It doesn't really matter. But I would do one or the other. I happen to find, in many cases, pink noise is a little quicker for troubleshooting because you can play with things and just put the microphone there and take your measurement. But you run pink noise, and if that measurement shows nothing below 900 Hertz, the speaker's broken, clearly. Again, especially if we have eliminated the receiver. Now, I said that wrong. I'm sorry. We don't know that the speaker's broken. If we switch it around and the problem stays on the same side when you switch the wires, it could be the speaker. If when you switch the wires, it switches sides, it's probably the receiver. Sorry about that. So, because both speakers couldn't be damaged like that. That would be very odd. So if it appears to be the receiver, like you switch the wires and you take these measurements with REW and the problem switches sides and you've unhooked the amplifier, so you're just using the amplifier built into the Denon receiver, then it sounds like the receiver is damaged in some way. So the next thing I would do, just to be absolutely certain that there's, because again, you're going to be potentially spending thousands of dollars to fix this because you have to replace that receiver, is I would go and replace the speaker wire. Now, it's not very common, but occasionally you'll get like a very thin, straight piece of copper that basically shorts it out. And even though it should actually short it out and cause it to shut down, instead you get weird frequency response results like this. We've also had situations where for some reason there was like a little stray piece of wire that was going to the chassis, didn't realize that it was causing weird results. Again, should have shut the amplifier down, didn't. Okay, so if you change the speaker wire and the problem goes away, then there was something going on with the wire. Basically fix the wire, redress it, make sure that's all good. If you change the wire and the problem stays, and again, we've kind of confirmed it's not the speakers, it's the receiver, then you're going to have to either get the receiver warranty repaired or buy a new receiver. Not a lot else you can do. I would say if you know somebody who's really good with this stuff and can actually repair them, that's good. And for the most part today, even some of the most expensive receivers are just not worth repairing, because some of the most expensive receivers are $3,000, $3,500. If one of the amplifiers is bad, you've got to be able to get the amplifier module from the manufacturer to replace it or get the parts that are used on it. Well, a very large portion of those amplifiers are surface mount now, and a lot of shops can't do surface mount repair. So what happens is you'll take it in to get it repaired, and they'll take a look at it and say, okay, I can do it. It's going to be $1,000, something like that. And then the issue becomes, is it really worth it? This is a 3800H. This is one of their kind of middle lower end receivers. And so I think they're like, what, $1,200, something like that? I don't remember the exact price, but they're not all that much money. And I'm going to guess that most repair shops are going to charge you, unfortunately, too much money. It's going to be probably more than 50% of the value of it to repair it if the amplifier is bad. And that's even assuming that that's what's wrong. I mean, what happens if they go in, they repair the amplifier, and the problem doesn't go away because it's something else somewhere else? So these are all things you'll have to kind of figure out for yourself on what to do next. But like I said, troubleshooting should be about getting to a point where you can isolate variables. So if you put an amplifier in and something happens, you've got to take the amplifier back out. Now, one of the other things you could do, and I would talk to Dylan before you do this, because he's going to probably not want you sending it back until you're sure it's the amplifier, and you don't really want to do that either. If the amplifier appears to be causing the problem, but it's not clear why it would do that, and it really isn't clear to me why it would do that, and you've confirmed that the speaker isn't damaged and the receiver is behaving properly, and so you're at this point now where you're like, I got to send the amplifier back, I probably would do the whole switching channels thing again, but with the amplifier. So take that amplifier and maybe run the center channel off of the channel that seems to be bad. And if the problem appears on the center channel, it's very clearly the amplifier. And if the problem doesn't appear on the amplifier, on the center channel, then it's not the amplifier and there's something going on. And then you got to keep, like I said, keep hunting for what that actual variable is. Troubleshooting can be really tricky. We have all sorts of weird things happen. You can spend days. One of the things I tell people when I do calibrations, my expectation, and everybody I know who does this professionally has the same attitude. Our expectations going into the job is that the system is up and running, working properly, and then we basically, that when I tell you it's going to be X number of dollars to calibrate a system, like if I'm traveling from out of town, I got to fly in, stay in a hotel, I'm going to calibrate your system. It's a complex system. We're going to just say, for the sake of argument, it's an 11 point, they're all, technically they're all 0.1. There is only one LFE, but we'll use that to designate how many subwoofers there are. Let's just say it's like an 11.6, which anymore is not that crazy. 11.6.6 system. So we've got 6 overheads, 11, we'll call them ear level channels, and 6 subwoofers that all need to be calibrated and set up. That's a relatively complex system. I've certainly done much worse, but that would be up there. It's enough that it's going to take a while. I'm probably going to want 2 days so that I can spend one day getting everything kind of roughed in, and the next day potentially even working with you to get the sound quality to where we want it. That's a whole nother step. That's probably going to be about $5,000 total. So travel plus expenses to do all that. If I spend the whole first day fixing problems like this, and it could easily take a whole day to trace out these problems. There's two issues. One is I already spent my time to come out there and go back. I got to charge for that time. That's reasonable, right? And now we got a problem. Like if this is going on and at the end of it, something's broken, I can't calibrate the system, obviously. So then I would have to help you to get it repaired, but that's going to take a while. So I got to help you get it sent out. Then I got to leave. And then we have to replan when it comes back for me to go back again. So I got to charge you for my 1 day's rate, which is still going to be the travel expenses plus time. It's a couple $1,000s. And then I'm going to have to go back out there and it's the same $5,000 all over again. So that's not good. And if it's your integrator that did it and they're the ones who screwed up, because admittedly, like really, if they're installing a system like this, they should make sure that this stuff is working properly. Then you run into another problem, which is that like I have to charge them for the extra amount of money, which they may not want to pay. But I got to say, if it's their fault, it's their fault. I got a choice when I walk into those jobs. I can troubleshoot the problem and charge them for my time, or they can come and troubleshoot the problem and I just go and leave. But I still got to charge for my time to somebody. And the fact that I flew out there, found a problem, and then left doesn't change the fact that I wasted time and I have to charge for that. So for any of the calibrators I know, that's pretty standard practice. Like we really want to make sure these systems are functional and working right, and these troubleshooting steps have been worked out. But it's tricky to do it, and you can spend a long time. I've wasted, out of my own pocket in many cases, just to be nice, I've wasted days basically on systems that weren't working correctly, where I really shouldn't have eaten the cost. And I will just, before people get into saying that they want me to do that, I'm not going to do that anymore. Learn my lesson. It really isn't a good idea. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I think, you were hoping, Brian, that I could give you a very specific answer as to what's wrong, and I can't because there's too many variables here and it's too hard to know. But like I said, work on isolating variables and try to see what's going on. The other distinct possibility, for what it's worth, although I don't know why it would be doing this, would be make sure, so many speakers are biampable and there's bus bars that are in there that go between the two terminals. If one of those came loose and you were driving just the tweeters, it's possible that the bass drivers aren't working in one speaker and that's what it's detecting. The crossover point should be so much higher than 900 hertz. I'm not sure why that particular number is where the curtain's going, but I'm just wondering if that could be something going on. That would be kind of something to look at. All right. Well, I've gone on and on about this one. I really can't answer your question any more specific than that. I hope this is helpful. Again, thanks for the donations. I appreciate that. If you do run into any problems, Brian, where the manufacturers are not working with you, feel free to send me a private email and I'll see if I can help you out a little bit. Keep watching. I got more videos coming and appreciate the donations. Oh, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. That helps a lot. Thank you.